The corporate world. So I was on a few companies as sort of a executive or manager type person, or even an employee, frontline employee. I mean, I've done it. I've done enough different things to know roughly what the corporate world is like. And I have some positives and some constructive feedback around it. First of all, let's look at the positives of the corporate world. There's people that are maybe watching this or going to watch this, and they want to know what the corporate world is like because they are maybe in a position to decide whether they want to pursue an education that will land them the corporate job or will land them some sort of entry-level position where they can climb the ladder and then eventually get into corporate. Or maybe they want to become an entrepreneur, but maybe that's not right for them. I don't know. There's maybe a bunch of different things that people out there want to do, but they want to really know what the corporate world is like. Really get to know it. So let's see if I can go really in depth on this. Let's see how in depth I can really get with this. I want to give you everything that I know. Other people have different experiences. So I don't want it to be all super positive or all super negative. Of course, I need to be protective of the companies that I worked for and not divulge too much in terms of the industries that I was in. But that being said, so I kind of have to be careful with how I say this. You see, already you can notice that you have to be careful when it comes to talking about the corporate world. You're not allowed to really be 100% open and honest because there's sort of rules, right? There's a lot of competition in the corporate world, and you have to be careful. You don't want to defamate anyone, that's for sure. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to create any sort of problems for myself here. So I want to look at the positives, because there are lots of positives. If you want to get into the corporate world, nothing wrong with it whatsoever. I think there's a lot of people in the world, and the reality is a business can't run without corporate employees. So you need this. Not everyone has to become an entrepreneur. In fact, that's probably not the best approach, because then everyone would just be a solopreneur running their own boutique business. Is that a bad thing? No, I mean, that could work, but I don't know. It all seemed very fragmented and lonely, to me at least. Everyone's just sort of doing their own thing in a box. But maybe that's the world we could be headed towards, right? I mean, there might not be corporations down the road. Who knows? But let's look at the positives here. One, you have a significant amount of people together working towards some sort of common goal, a goal that you didn't have to figure out. Someone else is figuring it out for you. Unless you're in my position, then you're actually responsible for figuring out maybe some of the visionary or purpose or core value type items. Marketing, HR, executive team, they all have to sort of deal with figuring that out. So that's kind of fun in a sense, but there's a lot of people, and at the end of the day, once you figured out let's assume the company's figured out their vision. Everyone's working towards a common goal. This is great because it unites a bunch of people together who would have otherwise have been floating around in a bubble. So it's nice that you have this sense of community around a major company. Okay, because then you can really feel like you're a part of a family. Because look, 1/3 or more of your life will be in a job, perhaps, and you might as well enjoy it, right? you might as well enjoy your time there. And what are you going to do? Going to do a job that you don't enjoy? Well, it doesn't make any sense. So, being around people who are working towards this goal, it's fantastic. Nothing but great things, because people get excited about this kind of stuff, that they're doing something meaningful. And you get that. You do get that in the corporate world. And that's great. I think that's fantastic. So you also get to meet people that could be your friends, could be at your wedding, could be just people that will help you accelerate your career. People who can be your mentors, people who you can mentor. So there's a lot of this cross-pollination of learning among a group of people that you just don't get on your own. It's nice. It's nice that you get to say hello to people. In this world, you're going to have people who will say hi and who will be really nice, and then you'll have people who just simply do not like what they're doing, which is a good portion of people, and they're just there. They're just there to take care of their families, to pay for bills. They're just there from one clock in to clock out. They don't want to put any time in beyond that. That's the reality. These people will always stay where they are. They won't go up in the world. They won't really... They're great because they're people that you can sort of tolerate them. You know that they're there. They do the job. That's great. There's a good portion of those people. What's also exciting that I like, at least in my time, is that I get to work with people and I get to train them up and see them grow. I get to help other people who are younger than me. I get to watch them accelerate in their career. And this is really exciting to me because these people could have the potential to change the world. So I feel responsible for these younger people, and I like helping them out. So it's cool to see these people growing in a company. I think so. And I can't help but coach and try to help them grow and work with them and collaborate and see what they can accomplish. That's what I really like. It's certainly seeing people develop. But of course, there might be a very small percentage. It depends on which company you're at, right? Some companies are very much focused on high performance and pushing that. I've seen companies where the focus is on sales. That's what it's all about. It doesn't matter about anything else. It's all about sales. And I mean, that's important, right? That is an important feature of a corporation, is making money. And how do you make money? Sales. So I see that as a value piece that is something that must be discussed. But of course, beyond that is the vision of the company, all the different things. So you have this community. I look at the corporate world, it's a community wherever you are, and you get to work together to build something. Well, to grow something. Not so much. You see, the structure's built, so you're just there. You're doing the activity. And if you can align it with a higher reason for why you're there, it's to help the world grow, or help the company grow, but also to help yourself grow. See, that's a good mindset to have. If you're going to go in the corporate world, be prepared to do work that maybe you don't want to do. Be prepared to do a lot of that. But know that you are growing, you're helping others grow. There's something to it. There's definitely something to it. And if you are starting off and you don't have experience, well, maybe it helps to see how a company is run. And how do you do that? Well, by being in a corporation, because then you can see how a company is being run. An entrepreneur does not get to see how a company is run. They have to make it up. It's not that easy. It's much easier to see a blueprint, see the inner workings. See, that's the advantage of being on a leadership team. I get to see how meetings are run. I get to see how companies are grown and strategies and visions, and I get to understand where people's minds are at. And I think that's really powerful, at least to me, just to have that kind of experience. So unless you're 100% determined as an entrepreneur and you know that is your title, you are an entrepreneur and you like building things and you like being on your own, I would encourage everyone to see what the corporate world is like, or see what working for someone else is like, so you can understand the inner workings. You can get a feel for how growth happens, or how a company is growing and then declining, and I've seen it both ways. I've seen massive successes and failures, and that is the nature of the business, and it will hurt when things fall apart, but it will be exciting when things grow, and the entire journey is very fulfilling. There's a lot of positives. You get that paycheck. You get the paycheck every 2 weeks or every month. You get a payout, which is incredibly valuable. An entrepreneur might not be able to get a payout for a very long time. So it's refreshing, once again, to know that you have that financial security. Yeah. I think that's important. What are some of the bad things? Well, maybe I'll jump around, but if I look at the bad things, it's the fact is you need to have some sort of structure that maybe you don't like, but you might have someone that you have to work for and you don't want to work for them. That's the reality. The best thing is to try to serve them, not for them, but for the good of the company. It's not about serving the person, it's about serving the greater good of what your company is actually trying to achieve. So all these negatives I will look at, and then I'll try to attach ways to navigate or get beyond them, because I don't want to just throw out negatives. I want to throw out some things that are maybe problems in the corporate world, and then give you suggestions as to how you can get beyond them. I think that's a good way of looking at this. So, working for somebody you don't want to work for. Well, that's just the reality. Realize it's not them that you're working for, but the company. Okay? And then try to do your best for the company. And in order to get along with people, I found that being agreeable actually helped, but honestly, that wasn't good for the company. I should have been bringing facts, bringing data. If you can come to the corporate world with facts and data to back up your argument, then you'll have people like you more, rather than just always agreeing, where people won't really like. I mean, people will like you, a person. They'll like the fact that you just always agree with them. But at the end of the day, it's going to affect the company. And that's not good. So you need to communicate. This is a struggle in the corporate world, is feeling comfortable to communicate, right? You might have a boss and you just don't feel comfortable communicating with them. You're scared out of your mind to tell them what you think. And that can happen. Yeah. You might have to find someone else to talk to then. Like, maybe you need to go to HR and figure out how you can communicate better. It falls on you, really, because if you've got a problem with someone, you need to address it with that person. Like, hey, I've got a problem with how you're doing this, and here are some ways to maybe do it. I don't know. I wish I was more assertive, certainly. And, I struggle with that concept of being assertive among people of higher power. You know how intimidating it will be. If you haven't been in the corporate world, good luck trying to handle higher powers, right? Very difficult to feel comfortable to put your opinion in unless that person encourages feedback. And a lot of times there's just too much feedback that's already being thrown out there, and they're already swimming with it. So they don't need more, but maybe they do. The communication barriers are definitely a concern. You have a lot of people working in silos and they're not communicating. The cubicle is real. Whether you're around a table with 6 other people or whether you are working in a cubicle with walls, it's all the same thing. Why? Well, at some point you have to get work done. So you have to shut up and do the work. And that's isolating. The reality is work is isolating. You can't really get around that. It doesn't matter if you're in the corporate world or doing your own thing. Tasks are highly individual. Now, you might be a part of group projects, right? Where you're brainstorming together. Yeah, that's happened in the corporate world for me. Lots of brainstorming. It's a small percentage of it, though. You're in a meeting and then you gotta go back to the table and actually get work done. At some point you have to do work, and brainstorming is great, but then you have to go back to the drawing board and sit in isolation. It's expected that you have deadlines, that you have goals, objectives, and you have to accomplish these goals and objectives. That's the reality. And you certainly might feel like a robot. Well, we all kind of are in this world, and we're expected to do these tasks. You might have situations where you are doing time tracking. And I'm not a big fan of time tracking because you spend more time tracking your time than you do actually doing the work in some cases. You're much better off having a very simple system. Look, have a stopwatch, press start, and then record how many hours. Although that being said, nobody wants to feel like they're under security. Reality is you'll run into that situation where you are in maximum security and it is very much kind of like a jail. And you have all of this tracking that takes place. And accept the fact that you get to do meaningful work. Okay, always look back on this as meaningful work that'll help you grow. Try to always circle back to that. Because it's way too exhausting to nitpick and complain and argue about the flaws in the corporate world. No. Try to maybe fix the things that you can fix. If there are systems in place and it's beyond your pay grade to negotiate those systems, accept the system, accept the change, continue to do the work that moves the needle forward. Don't dwell on the things you can't change. That's too exhausting. Another thing is you're going to have complaints. You're going to see it. People getting fired, people getting hired, new people come and go. This is the reality. A company is constantly changing and people have to leave. People retire, and there's fresh faces every week in some cases. That's just the way it is. Get used to the fact that you'll be meeting new people, and that's okay. That's completely okay. There will be things like office romances, there will be affairs, there will be things that you never expected. Crazy things that happen behind closed doors that blow your mind. Yeah. Because there's a power struggle. You see, you have all these people in higher positions, and what they can do is they can take advantage of people in the lower positions. They can do things to those people. It's kind of scary. You have highly powerful personalities, and they can overpower other people who maybe don't have that kind of personality. You have that in this corporate world. You have egos. You have narcissists. You have people who just float around and absolutely are useless and can get away with doing absolutely nothing in the company. And yet, because they've been there for so many years, they can just stay there and cruise along for the rest of their lives. You get that too. Or you got new people who are just super lazy and just don't want to do anything. And they're just there. So these are all characters in a story here. These are all characters that make up the realities of a business. And unless you're in HR, it's not really your responsibility to try to police all of this. It's a waste of your time. Don't bother trying to fix other people. It's a waste of time. I'm telling you. It's not your job. It's not your place. Your job is to do the tasks in front of you. And, well, unless you're in an executive position where people development's critical, you might not be at that stage. I don't really know where you are, but if people development is not part of your role, but you are the one that needs to do the work, then that's where you should focus on, is how to optimize your work, your efficiency, not all of the noise around you. Don't get involved with people at your work. It's the worst thing you could possibly do. And I'm telling you, it's exhausting. It'll take you away from what you are supposed to be doing. It'll take you away from your job. It'll affect your career. It'll prevent you from progress if you get involved with anyone at your work. I'm telling you, it's not the best thing. So you can be friends with people, but having anything beyond that is dangerous. The realities are, see, this is a concern. You can't really be friends with people who are the opposite sex, who are also single as you. This is why you have all these office romances. Because you have people of the opposite sex getting together, and what do you expect? You just expect them to be friends? No. Their hormonal levels are all over the place. They're excited and their emotions are running high. You work on projects together and you get attracted to people. And then that's how office romances kind of happen. And it's just not a good way if you want to progress in the corporate world to get involved with people. You really need to have your blinders on, or you need to find some significant other outside your job, and you need to do it quickly because you don't want to fall in love with somebody in a company. I'm telling you, that's dangerous. It's so dangerous to your career. If you care about your career, I mean, yeah. Those office romances, I'm telling you, it is so common among all these companies. It's just the way it is. It's crazy. And you get a bunch of attractive people together. It's even worse. Even if these are super high performing attractive people, guess what? They're going to be fighting over each other. It'll be a cesspool of just highly successful people trying to just fight over each other. Yeah. Just don't get involved with this kind of stuff. Like, you're there 1/3 of your life to do the job and do it well. Don't mess around with all this. Say no. Hey, like, this is unacceptable. And if you get those feelings, do what I didn't do. Go to HR and address it before it happens. Go there right away. Say, hey, something's happening here. I need to be transferred out, or I need to be switched out. Do that. You don't want to get involved. Oh, I think I'm falling in love with this person, and before anything happens, I need to be cut out of this. Because look, somebody might sue you down the road. Somebody might jeopardize your entire career because you decided you're going to pursue this romantic interest at work. Big mistake. Don't do it. Don't do it. I did it, and guess what? Didn't work for me. It ruined my career. Well, sort of, but not really. Maybe. Kind of bounced. It remains to be seen. You could say I'm picking up the pieces since, okay? Some things are difficult to recover from. For the sake of not getting into details, I won't. But I've been there, and if you're in the corporate world and you're single, you might also run into that situation. Find a significant other outside of work. Do it as quickly as possible in that case, because it's dangerous. I'm telling you, it's dangerous. You have all these perks in a workplace that are great. Well, that's a positive. I'm just going to jump around now here. You got perks that are great. I think they're fantastic if you use them. If you don't, they're a waste of money, and a good portion of your salary goes to them, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm never going to use a massage. Total waste of money. But yeah, there's a bunch of people in the company that like using this stuff, and they use it, every single benefit, and they take advantage of everything. You have people going on sick leave, disability, and a lot of them actually shouldn't be on sick leave or disability, but benefits are there, so they'll take them. You should take them too, because you're paying for it. You are paying for it. It's part of your salary. Well, it's part of your expenses, actually. So you make money, and then a portion of it gets taken away to benefits, to taxes, to all the other stuff. So use your benefits. You're paying for them. Use your perks. You're paying for them. And the company won't really tell you about all the perks because they don't want you to use them. Why would anyone want you to use your perks? Then you're out of work for a day. You're doing a massage or going to the therapist. I don't think companies really actually want this, but they know that in order to attract employees, these perks have to be there. Whereas for me, I would prefer that there are no perks and that I just make as much money as possible in my job. Because I don't need all this stuff. I don't need to pay for dental. I can go pay for it out of pocket. It's like, whatever. But use the benefits. I mean, why not? Use the education perks. Use whatever you can to progress in the world. Use everything. You're paying for it. And I was never really good at this. See, I never really used my benefits. I should have, but I didn't. It's a mistake. So many benefits that I never used. I don't think I ever used a massage in a lot of my jobs. There's maybe one time when I actually used a massage, even though I was paying for it. Yeah. But yeah, you want to use the benefits. You need to take the opportunities that are given to you. That's really the reality. Yeah. There are people, I mentioned that there are bosses you maybe aren't going to work with, and there are bosses that you absolutely love working with. Well, one, don't fall in love with them, and two, don't miss out on the opportunities to learn from them, right? Yeah. Be careful with people in power, because they can certainly do things that someone who isn't in power can't really do. They have control over the situation. They're essentially guiding you through the corporate world. You kind of have to be careful with them, I would say. You just kind of have to be careful in general. You have to be careful with how you say things to people. You have to be careful with how you treat people. And this is just the reality. You should treat people kindly, I would say. Be extremely nice to people. I always try to be really nice to people and smile and say hi and just be a genuinely nice person. Somebody who wanted to talk to me, they would enjoy talking to me. Although I could be a very dry person, and that's always a difficult thing. But I always liked having conversations with people and just getting to know their situations and their family and how they're doing. And I think that's all great. That's a good way of conducting yourself in the corporate world. Is it just treating people as if they're your family? Because, well, then there's no romantic interest there, unless you're one of those kinds of people. But that's a good way of looking at it. Look at them all like your family. Your immediate family, brothers and sisters. They're brothers and sisters to you. And you want to help them out, and that's as far as it goes. I'm surprised more companies don't communicate this, but the companies I worked for never really communicated family as much as they should have. But I think that's really important. Brothers and sisters. Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. Because that'll keep you safe and out of trouble, right? Hey, that's my brother over there. Or that's my sister. I would never do that to them, right? That's a good way of looking at it. I'm telling you. Yeah. That'll help you maybe with those hormonal issues, I would say. But, look, you're spending all this time with people. And you better make it enjoyable. It's funny, though. The entrepreneurs who are in the corporate world, they want to get out of it because, well, it's kind of soul-sucking in a sense. All this time is committed to helping someone else grow. So all you're thinking about is trying to get out of it so you can build your own thing, your own empire, your own legacy, right? But maybe entrepreneurship isn't for you, okay? You might have to figure that out. Working in the corporate world might be for you. You're only really going to know by experiencing this stuff, really getting into it. But I can tell you that yes, the corporate world can be a bit soul-sucking, and you wonder what else you can do. Well, that's where hobbies come in. You see, hobbies can help you get beyond this corporate world. I wish I had more hobbies when I was in the corporate world, because then maybe I would have enjoyed the corporate world more. That was maybe my issue. Maybe there are some hobbies that you can get into, and that would help you tolerate the corporate world. Of course, once you have a family, the corporate world becomes a necessity for you, because that's how you take care of your family. Entrepreneurship becomes significantly more difficult if you have a family. Significantly. You see, I can play around. I can do these videos, podcasts, whatnot. I can do all of this because I don't have a family. Heck, I don't even have a girlfriend at this moment of recording this. So I have no obligations, no emotional attachments to anything. I can experiment, explore, and this is my time to do it. Figure things out. I think it's still my time. Because the corporate world will always be there. You can always go back to the corporate world if you want to. It'll be hard, but you can get in there. Start off as a lowly intern and work yourself to the bone to climb that ladder. You can do that. It'll always be there. Entrepreneurship can disappear for you, though. There are certain things that kind of close off because your energies start to decline, and it's much easier to tinker around when you're young. Because once you get older, then family becomes something that you look at and that you want to achieve and accomplish and have in your life. So that's what you have to look at. Such an interesting world to navigate, though, the corporate world. There are times where you will feel like an ant. You will feel trivial. There will be times where you feel like you do not exist. And it just becomes highly depressive. Try to connect with others. Try to connect with your brothers and sisters at work. Have those conversations. Take your lunch breaks. Here's the other thing. Lunch breaks. A lot of people don't take their lunch break. Be the person who takes their lunch break. Take that hour, unwind, connect, talk with people. It'll help you, for sure. Versus just going 100% from start to finish, 9 to 5. I mean, you need that break. Because that allows you to refresh, recollect your thoughts, and then go after it. Your productivity will improve, I would say. There will be things that will deteriorate you sitting for a long period of time. At work is unhealthy. Apparently it's worse than cancer. Or it's worse for you than smoking. Not cancer. It'll be worse for you than smoking. So as a result, you're actually deteriorating yourself because you're sitting there for so long, day after day, and your body's just, you'll start to see a decline. If you ever look at people who have been in the corporate world for a long time, you'll notice that they start to turn into a pear. Yes, the fruit, the pear. Their body starts to just everything sort of lumps down into their midsection. Because they're sitting there and everything just deteriorates to their midsection. And you see a lot of those people just declining in health because that's all they do is sit there all day. And they're exhausted by the time they get home. They don't have time to exercise. They gotta go deal with the kids. So you need to exercise, is what I'm getting at here. If you're going to be in the corporate world, you need to take care of yourself. You need to eat your lunches. You need to pack your meals. Do this. Try to pack your stuff on a Sunday so that you're prepped for the week. That's what I would suggest. Because otherwise, you're trying to make your meals on a weekday, on a weeknight. Try to get your meals for the next day. It's a disaster. I tried doing that and I ended up just eating salads, which is okay, I guess. But I just didn't do a good enough job at getting all the fuel I needed. So I think I was always tired at work and lethargic. I just never took care of myself. So in the corporate world, you need to take care of yourself. You don't want to turn into a pear, that's for sure. But I saw the life of what I would be 20, 30, 40 years down the road, and I said to myself, I don't want to turn into that. I don't want to be that person. So I sort of got out of it. I said I wanted to get into entrepreneurship. I wanted to give that a try. And I did. I'm still doing it, trying things, at the risk of maybe never being able to enter the corporate world again. I don't know if any of this will prevent me from ever getting a job ever again. And I want to speak my mind. If you can somehow figure out how to build something that's meaningful to the world, I would suggest doing that 100% all the way. Go that direction. If not, figure out a company that you can be a part of and try to grow that business. Try to do your best to make it work for them. One day, though, you might get fired. Realize that. And that even though you cared so much about that company, they might exile you from the family. That can happen. So realize that even though it's good to try to look at the corporate world as like a family of brothers and sisters, realize that one day you might be abandoned. It's possible. If you do a good enough job, though, you should be so desirable that somebody will always want you. You'll never be an orphan if you approach it that way. You see, if you're going to do the corporate world, don't go into it halfway. Go all the way in, because that is what will help you get ahead. Not just doing a little bit. No, because then you will just waste away. No, you want to do your best and progress if you're going to go in this direction. The interview process, I believe, is about showing results, showing experiences, showing your ability to just be a really nice person, because you can't teach being a nice person. You cannot teach it. If someone is not a nice person, it'd be very difficult to teach them otherwise in the business. So look at the personality of the person. Look at the personality of yourself. Are you nice enough that you would fit into a company? Because I think being nice is really important. Genuinely nice. Those are the kinds of people you want in the company and the people you want to work with. So I hope that if you're going to be in the corporate world, that you're a nice person and that you treat people kindly as you would want to be treated, and then the interview becomes easier. Maybe your grades aren't good enough for the corporate world. A lot of corporate companies will look at your grades and will judge you based on your grades. All the ones I was at, they weren't really too big into grades. More about the experiences, more about results. Which makes sense. I mean, I would take somebody who has results over someone who has GPA. Results show that somebody knows how to do something very well. GPA says that somebody knows how to be disciplined. Both important, but I would take somebody that knows how to get something done. That's what I would say. Somebody who knows how to get results. That's what I like. It helps that you know people. Your network is the way into the corporate world. Otherwise, you're battling with hundreds of other people for a job, and that can be exhausting. If you're battling with hundreds of other people to get one job, heck, even thousands I've seen, you have slim chances. It's like online dating. You're already battling with hundreds of other people to find someone. That's a challenge. It helps to know someone for sure. I wish I knew more people, because then that would help me get into new positions, new opportunities, but I don't know enough people. But if you can do that, you can get to know people, that's going to be so helpful to you. I'm telling you. Yeah, it'll be really helpful. A lot of the jobs that get posted are not even the actual jobs that get filled. A lot of jobs that get filled are, they're filled by people that know people, right? And they never get on the job boards. So maybe you're out there and you want to get into the corporate world. You need to start getting clever. Start talking to people. I was talking to somebody and they managed to get a corporate job because they just asked questions. about the company, and they're just genuinely interested in working for that company. And they had informational interviews. A couple months later, they landed a job at that company without ever asking for the job. So that's a nice organic way to get into the corporate world, if you so choose. But it takes time, right? It takes time to build your network. It's not an overnight thing. No, you got to work on it. You got to work on connecting with new people every single day. Unless you're like me and you have no interest in connecting with new people, well, then that's okay too. Just figure out what it is you're doing then. The corporate world has so much fun to it if you allow yourself to enjoy the fun. Yeah, it does. I think it does. There's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to go into the corporate world. Just make sure you do your best, you be a nice person, and you treat your brothers and sisters well. And you help them grow too. Because it's a family. And if it all sounds like this could be very boring to your life, then maybe consider other alternatives. Consider other ways to enhance your life. Because I see a lot of people out there today saying, you don't want the 9 to 5. You want to get out of that. You want to be your own boss. Well, I can't say that's necessarily the best thing either. It really depends on the person. Depends on you. It depends on what you think. But you need to start asking those questions of yourself. See what you like doing. And if you aren't sure, ask to do office tours. Ask to tour businesses. I'm telling you, this is a wonderful way to cut down on years of misery, is just by asking to do a tour. Especially in the interview. Ask to do a tour. Find out if this is the set of brothers and sisters you want to be around. Figure that out. I'm telling you. It's such an opportunity to see what's happening. Because people can't really put on a fake face. If you're doing a tour and you're really analyzing how people are interacting and seeing how they conduct themselves, spend some time. I made the mistake of not doing that twice. Yeah. I never really got to see what people were doing. I'm telling you, nothing wrong with doing that. And the employer has to grant you that option. And if they're good, they would actually encourage the office tour because it helps show their brand and their culture. And most companies should do that. Just demonstrate their culture. Culture is a big one. And then you get to see if you fit or not. And if this is what you want. If the corporate world is what you want. Yeah. It's something for you to figure out and to take some time. Analyze the situation. See if it makes sense for you. I feel like that's all I've got. I've done other videos on how to get a job and a bunch of other things. I'm sure you can find it if you look hard enough. Courses, whatnot. It's all free. So if I'm missing anything, well, I could always do a corporate world part 2. Yeah. The corporate parties. Oh, corporate parties. Those are fun. Enjoy them. It's great to do these extracurriculars outside of the typical job. Yeah, there's a lot of fun aspects to it, for sure. Like, I have nothing super bad to really say about corporate world. If you want in I have nothing wrong with recommending it. If you want out, I have nothing wrong with recommending that either. You see, it all depends on who you are and how you want to fit in the world. All comes down to your self-confidence and how you think of yourself. Yeah. That's it. That's all I've got. Until next time. Toodles.